Okay. Well, we're live here, but as you can see, my compadre Trey is not in his seat. He had something happen, uh, and he is hopefully going to be back with us. So, with that, we're going to tell another story tonight. We're going to have someone tell a story here, and we'll have Dean Thomas on here in just a minute. But it's been going pretty well. You know, we've had a great response from this. A lot of people have been on, and we're going to keep telling this story. And there's just so many legends out there, and Dean's one of them. But I do want to fill you in. I know Trey is down at Lake of the Ozarks. They're fishing their first Moyak event, and the winds are going to blow tomorrow. I think their event is Saturday though, but I think it's still going to blow then. I'm not sure. And then I'm headed. There's Trey. He's back. He's got his jersey tonight.
God, man,
You should have told me it was Jersey night.
I thought I was going to have to drive back to Columbia, but man, I got this couple, Rick and Cindy Mixon. These people are a heaven sent to me. So they own this little cabin behind me and right here at Lake of the Ozarks, you know, where I'm from. And they mean the world to me. God put them in my life. And I thought I was going to have to drive back to Columbia because I left my blood pressure medication and my phone chargers and actually some stuff for my hair because I got to keep that good hair. So I was like, man, I got to drive back.
Hey, check it out, man. I got rid of mine.
That's from fishing. But they hooked me up. They had some on standby, man. This is
awesome.
Like my heaven away. This is my kind of heaven on earth right here. I love this place.
That's awesome. Cool. So anyway, I was just telling about you guys on the Ozarks about the wind conditions there, and you're gonna go, and you've got some light coming down over your face too, by the way, there. But heaven is coming after you, man.
I mean, I don't know that it's gonna get any better.
That's all right. Oh, there you go. There you go. But now we might not. Yeah, we can. Oh, yeah, that's a lot better.
Now I'm kind of in the.
That's all right. It looks good. So anyway, so you guys have the Moyak Saturday.
We got our season opener on Saturday.
And then I'm headed at 4 a.m. I'm headed to Lake Fork, Texas, and for the Bassmaster Championship. And I'm going to try to leave before. I'm going to try to get through Oklahoma before the windstorms hit really bad, and then get to Texas and probably hit some 40-mile-an-hour winds maybe. But I just want to get there before all that stuff comes through. And but we want to make sure we had this podcast with Dean tonight and go from there. But Dean, man, you're gonna love this guy. He's got stories.
He's the real deal.
Yeah, and we'll find out if he's got any ties with these other guys that we had on. But this guy has guided probably tens of thousands of people in the kayak and boat and everything. So let's bring him on and
guys, I'm sorry I'm eating right now. I've been on the water pretty much all day.
That's all right.
I did find 5 fish for anybody out there. I found them. They were little ones, but I found 5 of them.
Just remember, they'll tell their friends, and now maybe you'll get some bigger ones. Here we go. There he is. There's Dean.
What's going on, guys?
Yeah. And we got Dean Thomas. I didn't know they had deer down in southern Texas.
I was going to say, yeah, they do. Look at the drop tine on that one.
Oh, dude, this is the land. This is the land of big deer. South Texas is legendary for big bucks.
Wow, cool.
Oh, yeah.
And they have them dark racks. I like them dark racks. You guys get a lot of them.
We got a pretty good variety, man. I hunt on a beautiful place right down on the border near Zapata, if you've ever heard of that. And it is some beautiful, man, for you bass guys. I mean, it's right on Falcon Lake. As the crow flies, it's just not too many miles from Falcon. But yeah, big bucks, beautiful deer, amazing South Texas brush country.
What turkey do you have there?
It's the Eastern. Isn't that what it's called?
It's a real pretty one, right?
Yeah. Isn't that the Eastern?
I think so. Maybe I'm thinking about the one that lives down in Florida. Real pretty bird. Huh. You guys got a lot of hogs, though, right?
Oh man, this place is covered up in hogs.
Wow, he's got one under the desk. Look at that. It got away. He was
No,
good.
man, let's
He's
go.
got one.
You had to go get it.
No, he's got one for a pet. He has one for a pet, I think. Is
Look,
what it
at a
is.
time like this, I get a warning that comes across that says your battery is running low. Plug
Oh, no.
it.
Oh, no. Well, in the meantime, let's thank our
Welcome,
sponsors.
welcome to the Kayak Fishing Show story. Where
Oh,
we
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hey,
We
hey,
have some,
hey,
we have
I
something
got it.
every week. Every
I
week.
got it
Good.
just
as
in
long as you
time.
got duct tape, we're all right.
Yeah.
Hey, I got it just before we went to black screen.
Awesome. Okay, real quick, I'm going to thank our sponsors, Little Miami Outfitters, uh, Brandon Palmer, who's headed right. Well, he's actually there now at Lake Fork. Really good rods. I used his rod the last 2 days with one crankbait the entire time and landed 44 bass with just that rod and some big ones. And using a square bill. That's all I used, Trey. One rod, one lure. That was it. And in 44-degree water, and it went up to 55 the next day. So it got up to 80s again here today. We had a blizzard 5 days ago, and now we got 80s. But I
Man,
want to think.
I don't know how you guys live like that, man.
I don't either. Believe me, I don't.
If the air gets to 44 here, we're freaking out.
Yeah. No, it gets cold.
Much less the water.
Yeah. So I'm gonna thank KBF Kayak Bass Fishing Chad Hoover helped sponsor this podcast, and Tourney X Dwayne Wally. Dwayne Wally is all in on this because he loves the history of kayak fishing as well. And we want to thank you guys that are on. And we've already got comments. Story time from Steven Sturgeon and Eugene Darling. He's got to love Texas. Eugene Dean, I taught him and coached him back in the 80s in football. So
Dang.
Isn't that something? Anyway, and let's talk about Dean here. Dean, first of all, where do you live?
Aransas Pass, Texas.
Paradise.
Aransas Pass, it's a small little town. The closest thing that you would know to us is Corpus Christi.
Oh my gosh.
So it's right in the middle of the bend of Texas. I mean, there's a lot of great fishing to the north of us. There's a lot of great fishing to the south of us.
Mhm.
We're right in the middle of all of it. But Aransas Pass, right out here from my door, we have Redfish Bay. So between Aransas Pass and Port Aransas. So Aransas Pass is on the mainland side. We have a chain of barrier islands that runs like the whole length of Texas. Port Aransas is over on the beach side. So we fish the flats between the mainland side and then all of the barrier islands. So where I'm at right here in the middle of everything. I mean, you can go as far north as you want till you run out of gas or give up, or as far south. I mean, we have amazing, beautiful flats, some of the best opportunity for just miles and miles and as far as you want to go. I mean, you're only limited to your sense of adventure.
Nice. Now, have you lived there your whole life?
I grew up in Houston.
In Houston, okay.
So I fished around Galveston as a child. And when I was 18 years old, I bought a fish camp in Matagorda, which is about 2 hours south of Houston. So where I'm at now is about 4 hours south of Houston. I had the fish camp in Matagorda for about 15 years. And then I located here in 98.
Okay.
And I've been fishing here since then.
Okay, when you bought this fish camp, was it a kayak fishing camp or a boat?
No, it was so the Colorado River goes into the bay right there.
Okay.
It's at the mouth of the Colorado, turns into West Matagorda Bay. And it was a little trailer house right on the river. And that was before anybody knew of kayak fishing. That was in 1983, 84, when I bought that place. And started kayaking when I got here to Aransas Pass.
Okay.
2002 is when I opened my guide service, kayak rentals, guides, complete kayak outfitting service.
But how did you find out about the kayak?
Kind of a crazy story, man. So when I first started guiding, I was guiding out of a skiff, just like most everybody else was.
Yeah.
Back then, I was still raising little kids, and I took a chance and quit my job and started guiding. I was very hungry, still had to put food on the table. So I was working part-time at I had some pretty decent mechanic skills. I worked on a lot of cars, engines, and boats and stuff. So I was working part-time at the Marine Service here in town, doing water pumps, pulling power heads and stuff like that. Those guys happened to be a dealer for Wilderness Systems kayaks.
Hmm.
And so these kayaks hung on the wall, and I traded a paycheck for my first kayak for while I was working there, and just
Wow.
took that, started paddling, started exploring, got the idea that I could rent these things. I slowly built up a fleet, bought another one. I had a grand total of 6 kayaks. I built me a trailer, and I went and sat down on the side of the road. We have a causeway between Aransas Pass and Port Aransas, and I went and sat down there with my trailer, parked on the side of the road, looked just like a little Beverly Hillbilly sign. I
Wow.
wrote "for rent," and I sat down there on the beach and started renting
Okay.
kayaks.
How much did you rent them for?
Oh, back then,
Yeah.
that's a good question. Was probably I was doing it was like $10 an hour, something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I did $15 for a day is what I
Yeah,
was doing. And this are you talking about, uh, 80 late 90s?
it was 2002 when that.
2002. So
Yep,
isn't that wild? I started my guide service in 2004 in Nebraska, not even knowing. I mean, I found you on the internet, of course, and knew you were slow ride guide
slow
service.
ride guide services.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah, and were you on the Texas forums as well?
absolutely, man.
Yeah,
That's how everybody
yeah,
connected. It
that's
was
how I found you. Okay,
Texas Kayak Fisherman, TKF.
yeah, right. Now, did did you guide at that time?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
and
that's my so
what did you charge?
I started my business in '02.
Okay,
For the first 2 years, it was very slim pickings, man.
yeah,
Believe me. I
yeah,
fished more than I guided.
yeah,
But in '04 is when it just really took off.
okay,
Um, for whatever reason, man, in '04 things just really started to happen.
mhm,
Before that, from TKF was connected to the forums in Florida and
mm,
was connected to the guys in North Carolina, the Tidewater Kayakers Association. I got to know a lot of those guys pretty good. So just from creating, and it's funny because it wasn't called creating content back then.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
we took pictures, we just
mhm,
exchanged a lot of information,
mhm,
and
mhm,
that branched out via the internet.
yeah,
And then at a fishing show that we were doing here down there on the causeway, it was another one on the water that Texas Parks and Wildlife put on. I crossed paths with Joel McBride, who was a sales rep for Wilderness Systems kayaks. We struck up a conversation. I just got to meet him, told him what I was doing. Um, and the conversation led to a pretty good friendship, and then over time it led to the creation of our very first kayak fishing team. And that's another story on its own, man. So before then there were no sponsored kayakers, there was no such thing. I mean,
yeah,
it wasn't even a concept. So but these guys at it was Confluence Water Sports,
right,
so they
right,
handled
yeah,
Wave Sport, Dagger, and
yeah,
all those other brands, and they had these whitewater teams. And
yeah,
we were traveling to events. We were going to Salt Lake City. We were going to other places. And I saw these whitewater teams where they had an organized team that traveled. And I
mhm,
went to Kelly Woolsey. He was the CEO,
mhm,
him and Joel. And I sat down. I said, we should create a fishing team to mimic and duplicate what the whitewater team is doing.
mhm,
And that is where the concept, and there's people out there to this day that will debate me on where
mhm,
that happened. They're wrong. I remember when we sat down and we developed the concept and we put the very first team together that traveled and fished. We went to Florida. We went to the Carolinas. We used that same network that was connected, and
mhm,
we went and fished those tournaments.
yeah,
And I
wow,
remember I was in Florida, and there was a sales rep there for Ocean Kayak,
yeah,
and I even had this T-shirt that a buddy of mine airbrushed. The back, he's an airbrush artist, and he airbrushed the back of a shirt. It had Wilderness Systems Kayak Fishing Team, And the dude from Ocean Kayak came to me and he's like, "Can I take a picture of your shirt?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And he took that back to his people, and that was the second team that from the idea, from what he saw, what we were doing, and then now and look at where it's at today.
Yeah. Now on that, was your first kayak a Wilderness Systems kayak?
Absolutely.
Was it a
And
ride? Was it a ride?
yeah. Well,
What
there was the ride and the Tarpon 160,
which one do you have?
both.
Did you have the ride 135?
Uh-huh. I've had I s
You
so
Here's the
Wilderness
crazy.
Systems are still the only thing that I have to this day. I
Yeah.
have never had anything else.
Uh-huh.
So the first one I got was the ride, the original one with the
Yeah.
pontoon style hull. Then the
Yeah.
second one was the Tarpon 160. And my fleet, my original fleet was 3 rides and 3 160s.
Now, okay, this is wild. My first kayak was an Old Town Otter because that's all I found on eBay. I mean, I just wanted a kayak because I just wanted to go paddle. All right, but I fished. That's another story. But what I wanted to say though was the second kayak I found was in Florida. It was a Wilderness Systems 135, the long slender one with the scuba tank rack in the back or pouch there or whatever. That's the first one I had. So that's the commonality here.
And so here's another thing that a lot of people don't know.
Uh-huh.
That little square spot behind your chair is
Yeah,
called a tank well.
yeah, yeah,
To this day, it's still
yeah,
called a tank well.
yeah.
The reason it's called a tank well
Right,
because it originally was designed to hold a scuba tank.
right,
And the
right,
ride the
right.
ride was the only kayak that
Yeah,
was ever designed that was for a scuba tank to mount behind the seat.
yep.
And yeah, so it's kinda crazy that term to this day, still exists as a tank well.
Can you see it?
Yeah,
That's a Wilderness 135 ride.
that's it.
And and it as when I sold it, it kept coming back on the internet. Somebody else was selling it, and it like 4 times. Because how durable were those things? Think about it.
They were bulletproof back in the
Yeah,
day, man.
yeah. And,
Yep, yep,
that
they don't make plastic like they used to, man.
yeah, that was a well, man, I thought I had one more picture of that. Maybe
But, yeah, so and then, got some 120s. The 120s came out, and then the 140s evolved into the fleet,
wow.
and now it's just madness out there.
Yeah. Yeah, here you go. So here's a wilderness ride on the cover of the Nebraska Boating Guide. That's the ride. My son is riding in my lap, and that's the I don't know what year it is. It's 2000 something, but it's really old. This thing, but it was on the cover of the Boating Guide. So the wilderness ride has been around. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
get this though, get this. Last summer, or no, 2 summers ago, I'm up the Susquehanna River and I meet an 83-year-old gentleman up there. He's fishing all by himself, and I go up to him and I say, "Are you in the tournament?" And he goes, "No, I'm just out here fishing." And he had a Wilderness 135 ride. I said, "How long have you had that kayak?" He goes, "Oh, I bought it a long time ago." So he had that over 20 something years as well. And that's how durable they are. I mean,
Yep.
you know, so that's a crazy story on that. How you got, and then the other thing is Tom Strauss from uh, Emotion Kayaks. That's another side of it where he contacted me and said, "Hey, I see you out there paddling kayaks." He goes, "If I give you a couple, would you take pictures of them and put them out there for me?" I said, "Sure." So he sends me 3, one for my kid as well. And then so we had those Emotion Stealth kayaks, and there was no sponsorship or anything like that. It wasn't even called that. They just gave us kayaks back then.
Yeah, yeah, just to get some business, some
Yeah.
exposure.
And he put Shakespeare on the side of his kayak to get the fishing community involved in it.
Yeah.
So that's great. I just wanted to put that out there about the commonality.
Man, when we were driving across the country, whenever we were going to Florida on some of our first trips,
Yeah,
we would pull into gas stations and, we had our kayaks in the back of the truck
yeah,
with all of, the gear to go for 2 weeks on these road trips.
yeah.
Every single place we stopped, man, it was guaranteed somebody was going to walk up.
Oh yeah,
What is that? What
yeah,
do y'all
yeah,
do with those
yeah,
things, man? What is going on?
yeah.
Um, Yeah, it was
That's
interesting times. It was good. And the one as you were sitting here telling about that, I'm trying to remember there was another company. Oh man, is my memory.
Perception.
No,
Perception had
was it
one.
Native? Was it Native Kayaks? It may have been
I don't
Native.
remember Native.
They had it was a canoe kayak hybrid kind of thing because there really weren't a lot. So it was the Wilderness Systems had their sit on tops. Ocean had the Scupper, then the Scupper Pro, and then there were others that were kind of
Malibu. There was Malibu.
Malibu,
Yeah,
Malibu, yeah,
I had a Malibu.
yep.
Uh,
So there was a few, but then there were others, that came along, just different styles of
oh,
small plastic boats.
yeah. Field and
Um,
Stream had one. There was a canoe style.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, Trey, what do you think, Trey, of this stuff? This like
Man, so I've been, I always got to say something pretty crazy, and you always got some story, Marty. My dude Dean, he said Galveston, Texas, and that took me back because when I was like 18 years old, me, my best friend at the time, politically correct here, there was a black girl and a Mexican girl. We left from Kansas City, Missouri, and we started smoking crack in Dallas, Texas. Got into a wreck, and so my buddy's like, Trey, I'm gonna show you the ocean. I'm like, all right, cool. I want to see the ocean. So we get dead stop traffic outside of Houston. And little did we know we were at this thing called the Kappa Beach Party, which we were the only two white boys in the entire area. We never found the Mexican girl or the black girl ever again. I ended up going to jail on Galveston County. We actually went out to a place called Crystal Beach.
It's still there.
And stayed out there, took a ferry out there. It was the first time I ever smoked PCP. And I remember my friend was like slamming on the brakes of the car because he thought the car was going into the ocean. And it was super crazy. But he started saying that, man, and it just it took me back there a little bit, Dean. But yeah, that's
and, and if you want to relive that, it is spring break on Crystal Beach right now, this week.
Yeah.
So that is still taking place.
And just Steve Billington asked me about
another generation
right there.
This day is still out there. And another thing, Marty, like the pictures and stuff, the memorabilia, I've got boxes of memorabilia, of articles and photos of, I just saved stuff over the years.
Yeah.
Even my mom, it's kind of crazy. My mom saved just every magazine that I was ever in. She just put them in boxes, and that stuff is still floating around here.
Oh yeah, same here. Yeah, I've got a whole room full here.
No, Dean, I'm trying to keep it as appropriate as possible. But about my story is, I'm kind of new to this, and new to bass fishing. I've always loved it, but going on 6 years clean and sober. Now I kind of do this, recovery outdoors, being able to help guys transition from prison back in the community. And I still gotta, I don't want to say grateful for my past, but I can't forget it. Right. So it was just that was a story. And a lot of people are like, whoa, did you just say he was smoking crack on a fishing
man,
life? I did. And Marty never knows what I'm going to say.
Life is a long road, dude. It is a journey. There is a lot of turns and twists along the way.
And Steve Billington, there's the goose.
Congratulations on where you're at now, man.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah. That's why I have Trey on here. He brings spice, man. He brings a lot of spice to it.
Hey, man, dude, look, man, every day is a blessing. You be thankful for every day you get. Yeah. And if you have a chance to live a life on the water, a sense of adventure, and that's what I used to tell people. People would ask me, you're a fishing guide? I told them I was an adventure guide. Every single day was an adventure. I mean, you never knew what was going to happen. And it absolutely was, especially in the kayak, man. We took off, and I mean, if I had people with skills, we're going on an adventure, man. We're fixing to push the limits. I mean, I would take people and get them to push their self to a limit that they weren't, didn't expect, didn't know that they could do. But when they have somebody with confidence out in front of them, leading them on that way, man, at the end of the day, they're just amazed at what we did. So yeah, man, life is an adventure. It is a trip, and every day should be treated as such. You get one chance to do this thing, man. You get one shot at it.
And I think that being a guide as yourself, Marty's touched on this too. You may, or some people just may look at it. It's just, fishing, people are on vacation and want to come. You don't know, or maybe you do know, but how you are impacting people's lives. Maybe that person was going through a divorce, or maybe just got through a divorce, or, maybe dealing with substance use, loss of a child or something. You don't really know the underlining story of maybe what even brought them to you, Dean. And it's so much more
Absolutely.
than just fishing.
Yeah,
And so this is 2002, this is 25, so this is 23 years that I've been doing this. The thousands of people that I've taken out on trips, you know, I've had people that I have fished with for many, many years that I've watched their kids grow up. And then the kids become grown up and come back and fish with me. And every day, there's so many personalities, so many people. And yeah, I mean, a lot of them really absolutely do come to a point in their life where they're like, I'm going fishing, man. I've had enough of this other crap. And it is time to get outdoors and do what I want to do. So,
Mhm.
many stories and personalities and aspects of people's lives that you cross paths with along the way.
Yeah, and on that, Dean, I'd take somebody out like a guy or whatever and guide him, and then at the end of the day, he's like, "Hey, man, I just want to let you know that I'm going through a divorce right now, and this just saved me. This it healed me today." Or I have a guy
Yeah.
say, "Hey, you saved my life by introducing me to this." And remember, these are people. You remember this? These are people that had never been in a kayak, never
Yeah.
even seen one,
Oh
and
yeah. Oh
and they're
yeah.
trembling. They're trembling before they get in. They're
Oh yeah.
shaking, you know, and you remember those days.
Oh yeah, man. The first 10 or 15 minutes is going to
Yeah,
tell you how the rest of your day is going to
yeah,
go.
yeah, you bet. So when you started your guide business, did you take large groups, small groups, half days, full days?
Anything and everything, man. Like I said, I was hungry. I was
Mhm.
hungry back then.
Uh-huh.
So, yes, I took small groups. I took groups up to 10. Um,
Mm,
back I started out and I was guiding, and then another part of my program that I started with a good friend of mine, Dr. Bill Harvey, who was with Texas Parks and Wildlife. He used to do seminars like in banquet rooms and stuff, and he did this slideshow about kayak fishing. And
mhm,
we became great friends, fished together. And I
mhm,
said, we need to put your program that is up there on the wall and then take these people out in the water. We
mhm.
designed a program called the Texas Kayak Fishing School. There was no YouTube back then.
Wow.
There was no Instagram. There was no Facebook. There was
Right,
zero
right.
social media. So above my shop was in, and I still have that building. And I still have it where my shop was that I've had for 20 plus years.
Wow.
Downstairs was all the rental business. I had a little small retail store, and upstairs I turned into a classroom. So we had the
Oh,
Texas Kayak
wow.
Fishing School, and we would bring 10 people to the class. And then the night before, we went through kayak safety, paddling
Yeah.
instruction, and such. And then the next morning, we went out fishing. So we would take 10 people on a 4 or 5 hour trip, come back, we go to the classroom in the afternoon, and then we wrapped up the third day with another day on the water. But I mean, it was not uncommon for me to guide a six
Yeah.
person fishing trip on my own. I mean,
Wow.
did it many times. And I was way much younger back then. There ain't no way. There is no amount of money that people could talk me into to do that
Yeah.
again nowadays.
Now look at this. Speaking of commonalities, you know what that is there? That's
I can't.
Kayak Jack's fishing school.
Oh wow.
Same thing back in the day.
Yeah.
All paddle kayaks. I would do these paddle schools, and I would charge $25 for these
Yep.
guys to come out. And here you go. Hector Montez said,
Hector Montez. Yeah, he was. I know Hector very well. He was in one of the classes. He was
"That's
in two
awesome.
of them.
That's awesome." And then Eugene said, "Fishing helped me cope with my brother's death. It got me out of my funk." Wow.
Yeah, it can have that kind of effect on you.
Marty, you
Yeah,
haven't hit him. You haven't hit him with the relationship question yet. The guy and the girl. I mean, you're probably getting into that. But that's a great question.
the guy and the girl.
Yeah, man. The one. So if he takes a guy and a girl out at the same
Oh,
time,
yes, yeah, okay. We're gonna ask this question. I'm gonna show some of your slides here too in a second, but first I wanna ask this question. Do you ever remember, like, you take a young couple and the girl's like, she's ready to listen and she's like, a sponge, and the guy, you go, hey, here's some stuff you can use. The guy goes, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna go off and do my own thing. Go ahead, you take off from there.
No, that's 100%. That was all. That was the way it was. A dude already knows everything there is to know about fishing, and that's just women in general. If they are in a new learning experience or an unfamiliar place, and they're going to listen, they're going to go, these words are
Yeah,
important," and
yeah,
they're going to listen. Um, and of course, yeah, then the lady, she's always going to end up catching a bigger, more badass
yeah,
fish,
yeah, yeah.
and she's always going to look better in the picture, and yeah, she's always going to get
Right
more
there,
attention.
right there, right there.
Of course,
Who is that?
that's my wife.
And she caught a big fish.
Oh, she's awesome, man. She and so what's funny about my wife when I fish with her, she'll tell me, she's like, I don't want to hear none of your guide talk. Are we fishing? Are we moving? Um, but no, she's badass. She has caught a lot
That's
of
awesome.
badass fish with me. Yes.
And the people out there, if you guys are on here, the people that watch this, go to Dean Thomas's Facebook page. There are just thousands of guide shots.
Thousands.
Yeah, and the same with my feed. I go back and I look and I go, oh my gosh, we did that, you know. But you have magazine shots, man.
Thousands. That
Yeah,
is my goal. One of my goals every single day is to send the people home with a photo that
yeah,
they're going to hang on their wall. I
right,
mean, not
right,
just not just a fish holding up. I mean, it is going to be, I mean, I put a lot of effort into my photography, man. I want them to go home
yeah,
with a picture that is going to represent their day,
yeah,
and they're going to want to go home and put that thing on the mantle and look at it every single day. But yes, thousands and thousands. And it's crazy how with Facebook and social media, from posting pictures every day, it is a chronicle of
yeah, yeah.
15, I don't know, Facebook probably goes back about 13 or 14 years now,
Mm-hmm, hmm.
of a chronicle of those years of your life in pictures and memories. And so, yeah, you can scroll back through that and you can look at everything that
Yeah,
we've done for many, many years.
yeah. And so uh, Joe Winston said, tell the double dip story and how we supported both.
Ah, 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 ah. Oh, Joe Winston. That's another good buddy of mine. So,
Okay.
double dip. So, you guys have heard of, y'all familiar with Heroes on the Water? They take veterans kayak fishing. My dearly departed buddy, Jim Dolan, one of my
Joe, yeah, I know
best
Jim. Yeah,
friends in the
yeah,
whole world.
yeah.
Um, man, the stories and the memories with Jim also are never ending. Here's the best one. So Jim Dolan, big dude, man, not a
Oh
little
yeah,
guy,
yeah. Tall.
tall, big, just big dude. So we were going on it was actually in the fishing school, in one of the fishing school classes way back in the early days. So
Hmm,
Jim Dolan jumped in a Tarpon 160, which is a very narrow kayak, a very streamlined.
hmm,
So the ride was always for the big people,
hmm,
very stable. The
hmm.
160, very narrow, streamlined, just a little speedboat. So Jim Dolan jumps into 160, and man, he starts paddling, and he gets about 10 or 15 feet from the bank. Boom, rolls over,
Oh man.
and he's
oh,
underneath his boat. And so we go out there and we gather all the gear. We swim him back up to the shoreline. We get him all put back together, and we get him back in his boat, and he takes off. Boom. He makes it about 30 feet further than the first time. And this is right out in the middle of a channel, man. This is not in the flats. It's not in a safe place. He gets out there right in the middle of the channel. Boom. He rolls over again.
Wow.
So that is where his nickname to this day that still lives in infamy it was Double Dip, because
Ah,
he fell twice trying to get off the bank. And
wow.
yep, we somebody that was there came up with Double Dip.
That's
and
wow. That's
and
somehow you get your nicknames, you know,
yep.
there.
Oh yeah, your nickname, it picks you. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
really
Like,
get to
okay,
pick it.
so like
It's
Kayak Jack, you're like, well, how are you Kayak Jack? Your name's Marty. Well, guess what? My real name is Jack. But my superintendent, of course, your wife is a school teacher. I was a school teacher. Well, every time I come into school, I drive to school with my old trooper with a kayak on top of it. Superintendent's waiting in the hallway for me every morning, just baiting me. Comes up, hey, Kayak, how's it going today? How's that thing? He's making fun of me every single morning in front of the kids, and it's
yeah,
fun.
yeah,
And
man.
he started, but one day he added Jack to it, and people were like, "Who's that?" And
Yeah,
he goes, "Well, his name's Jack." So I call him Kayak Jack. Well, he calls me in one day because I started the guide service, and I said, "I'm going to name it Kayak Jacks. How would you think of that, Dallas?" His
hey,
name's Dallas. He goes, "Well, any money you make, I get a cut because I came up with a name."
yeah.
You
Oh
know?
man, the best ones come
Yeah,
natural, man.
yeah,
It's just
yeah. Like Kayak Kevin, you know, Dean Slow Ride Tom. Where's the slow ride come
oh,
from?
and so that's another a strange twist to the story, man. So slow ride is 100% appropriate to kayak fishing. Everything
Yeah,
happens
yeah,
slow. It is slow.
yeah.
The true honest story of the reason. And so I named my guide service Slow Ride Guide Services before I was kayaking. I named it when I was in
Ah,
my skiff. So I'm a child of the 80s. I grew up in the 80s listening to the best music that was ever created. So
yeah.
Foghat, of course, was one of our favorite bands. We rocked out
Oh, slow
when
ride.
we were in high
Yeah,
school. My friends that I grew up with, we rocked out the Slow Ride.
yeah.
Very unfortunate. Two friends of mine were killed in car wrecks when
Oh,
we were very, very young. And so we would go and visit the cemetery. But see, we carried on in their honor, in their name. We would go sit at the cemetery and we would crank up Slow Ride and
okay.
sit at the grave and kept them a part of our lives. And so, in honor of those people, the fact that I got to live my life the
Yeah,
way that I did,
yeah.
I named my guide service Slow Ride,
Okay, so
honor
people
of my friends that were no longer with me.
oh, man, so here people that don't know there you go.
And then it ended up so appropriate. It was
Yeah,
just kind of
isn't that
it
cool?
you can't explain things like that.
But let's get the slow ride part here. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And you even did that, and you also did that beard versus hair challenge
There you go.
with Jim Salmons. So that, yeah, I was reading about that.
So
Doesn't look.
so how did you meet, Chad Hoover?
I met Chad Hoover in so Chad Hoover was um he was in the Navy, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
he did some training in Corpus Christi, Texas.
yeah,
And he's from Louisiana originally.
right.
So he knew we had communicated via the Texas kayak fishermen. He
Mhm.
ended up on a trip um, here in Texas, and he came and met me. He stopped by. Corpus Christi
Wow.
is like 30 minutes from Aransas Pass. So
Mhm.
we met up, we visited. I don't remember if he came by my shop or if we were out on the water. I really don't remember. And then when he was stationed in Norfolk. And when we were fishing in Chesapeake Bay in North Carolina, we would
Mhm.
go out there for tournaments, and I
Ah,
fished with Chad in those
ah,
tournaments there. And
wow.
then we crossed paths in Florida, and then we crossed paths here in Texas again. And so it
Wow.
just kind of crazy. I mean, we just
Wow.
ended up in same place, same time.
And a funny story of that is when he was in the Navy, on the East Coast, I found him on the internet and he gave me his phone number. I call him. He's on his ship telling me all the stuff he's gonna do in kayak fishing, and he did it.
Yeah.
And
So Chad Hoover,
yeah.
we were in we were somewhere in North Carolina. I don't remember what city it was. So
Uh-huh.
there weren't a lot of easy access places to get into the water. So you launched at like boat ramps, marinas. It wasn't a lot of
Yeah.
free access in a lot of places. So
Yeah.
we were all ganged up one morning. So we were there. I was on Wilderness Systems. I don't remember who Chad was with them, if he was freelancing or what it was. But so the Hobie guys and then the Hobie kayaks had first come on the scene at that point.
Mhm.
And so we were out paddling, and this dude in this Hobie comes up on us, and he had his legs, you know how when they paddle, their feet are all up in the air and stuff.
Mhm.
And this dude had some way too short shorts on. And so he paddles up to us and he says hello. And Chad, man, you know how Chad is. He
Yeah.
don't give a damn.
Yeah.
Chad looks at this dude and he's like, man, somebody's gonna have to buy me dinner and drinks before I get my legs up in the air like that. And so then the next morning, we're sitting on the bank and everybody's got their kayaks. We had to wait for the sun to come up, but everybody was ganging up. So there's a Hobie kayak sitting there. And I still have this photo somewhere.
Uh.
So Chad says, get your camera, get ready. Chad goes over there, takes his pants off. Didn't give a damn, down to his underwear, his little whitey tighties or whatever the hell he was wearing. And then he takes his t-shirt and he pulls it up and he ties it bikini style.
Oh man.
Right up in the middle, and he goes and lays down in this. He just jumps in somebody's Hobie kayak, and he lays back in there, and he puts his little bikini shirt and his shorts, and he's like laying spread eagle. And we took that picture of him in that Hobie
man.
kayak, and that photo had a life of its own for many years. And I still got it around here somewhere. It was hanging on my wall of my office forever. But man, the crazy fun times I had with that dude, man. He was zero filter. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Zero.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And then
yeah, go ahead.
I didn't realize that I knew he was in the Navy. Dude was like a captain or a chief or a colonel or a general or something.
Officer. Yeah, he was an officer.
He was an officer. So I never even saw Chad in a uniform. When I was over there at Norfolk, he goes, hey, man, you want to see something cool? I was like, sure, let's go. So we go up to the base. He's driving his old beater-ass fishing truck, and we pull up to the gate, and he shows his ID. The two dudes at the gate, boom, snap to attention. And I looked at Chad, and I was like, who the hell are you, man? What is this? And then, they're like, they wave us in the gate and we go in. He takes me to the aircraft carrier. I was like, everywhere we go, people are saluting this guy. And I was like, I had no idea. We ended up going in the hangar. We went in there because he managed a squadron of helicopters.
Yeah.
We went in there, man, I got to sit in a helicopter, take my picture while all these dudes, everywhere he goes, these dudes are saluting him. And I was like, I had no idea, knowing him the way I knew him, that he had that kind of stroke as an officer in the Navy. You would never, ever believe it. But
wow, that's pretty cool. Now, we're doing a Chad Hoover part 2. Guess what? We're going to bring you on.
Oh, I'll do it, man.
That's going to be good because we're doing a part. Because we
need you to find that photo in the meantime.
You got to find that photo.
Here's one more Chad Hoover story.
Okay,
good. I was staying at his house in Norfolk, Virginia, and the tournament came to an end. I was catching a flight to leave out of there on Sunday morning. So Saturday was the tournament. We fished the tournament. Saturday night, Chad was going to an officer's ball, some kind of huge gala event. So when he left there, he was in his dress blues or whites or whatever the hell they call it. This dude was dressed up with medals, hat, the ridiculous. So Chad goes to the ball. I stay at the house watching some TV. My flight was early in the morning. So Chad comes in 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock, whatever it was, drunk off his ass, drunk, wasted. And so he had to take me to the airport. It was his job to get me to the airport at like 6 a.m. He comes in, face down, passed out. I had to wake him up. And I was like freaking out because I was going to miss my flight. And he got up from his drunken stupor, stumbled to the car, and got me to the airport. And I wished him good luck, man, the best I could. And he
Wow.
obviously survived because he's still around to this day. But yeah, man, he drove me to the airport in the worst condition I ever seen anybody.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
but that's just a normal day for Chad. I mean, that was
Wow.
not a big stretch for him.
Wow. Let's see.
Somebody's probably calling him right now. They're like, Chad, you got to get on the kayak fishing show
Well, I
today.
figured my phone was probably going to ring here in a minute or so.
Well, if he does pop on here, he gonna let it loose. He
Yep.
will.
Oh,
Wow. That's in your boat. That picture's in your boat.
That's a great photo,
yep.
dude.
Yeah.
I
That's
took that photo with my phone of myself. I propped it up on the
wow.
console and put it on the timer and took that photo.
Wow. So let me ask you, speaking of photos, did you guys also use the waterproof Walmart cameras in the beginning?
Absolutely. Yes,
Oh
absolutely.
wow.
Yeah.
I would stop, I'd catch a fish and I just hang on to it on the side of my kayak and I'd wave down a boat and they were like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Yeah, hey, can you just take a picture of this camera for me?
No, man, we had those little yeah, you took them to the 1 hour photo
Yeah,
shop
yeah,
and they
yeah.
popped the film out. And then they had the little point and shoots,
Yeah.
the little
Yeah,
Olympus cannons. Yeah.
that's
That was
how
that
that's
was
how
high
these
tech.
were that's how this was taken was somebody in a boat came by
Yeah.
and that was with my Walmart camera.
Man, when I remember when I got my first camera that I could plug into a computer and
Yeah,
download
yeah,
photos, which you had to sit there, it took 30 minutes to
yeah. Oh, yeah.
and then to post a photo on the internet, you had to use a hosting site.
Yeah,
You had to go and host the site, copy the link, post paste that link in a post, and then people would click the link, go to the hosting site to see the picture.
yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right.
And now I got my GoPro. I could take a picture of the GoPro, upload it to my phone, edit it, post it, 2 minutes.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, well, we had our Nebraska forum, we could post a picture on the forum. It would take it on the forum. I don't remember how long ago that was, but I was a long time ago. But I do remember that because I got my first website, the kayakjack.com, and I would host my pictures on it, and then I would take them from there.
Yep.
And
Way back in the day, man,
oh yeah,
we would do
unbelievable.
anything to get a photo on the internet, man.
What's wild though, Dean, is all these like with Chad and with Dennis Spike and Jim Salmons and you and Dee Kaminsky we've had on, we all have similarities, but we were in our own little silos.
Yeah.
That's what's weird.
Yeah. It a lot of similar personalities that drove us to do what we did. Um, and then, the internet in its infant form connected us together. Um, it was fate, man. It was destiny.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk. We haven't even talked about fishing yet. Your favorite fish to catch or go after?
Man, that's a tough question. I mean, it just on the flats for sight casting, it's redfish. It's just big, brutal fish. Um, Opportunistic,
Mhm.
hit a fly, hit a worm, hit a topwater. They for flats fishing, for sight casting,
Mhm.
Texas, of course, is redfish. If you go to Florida, you go to the Everglades, all I want to catch is a snook. You know,
Mhm.
we don't have those here. Then that's the ultimate. And then, we travel to Costa Rica occasionally. Then you got rooster fish, you
Yeah.
got Cubera snapper, you got sailfish, you got, marlin. It just kind of depends on where I'm at in that moment.
Wow. Now, setups like spinning rods, bait casters, baits. What are you doing?
Both, everything.
Uh-huh.
And I fish with a spinner and a bait caster 50-50.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm indifferent. Fly rod, 20-30% of the time. Also, we throw a lot of flies. Um, so I'm not real specific, man. I'm not stuck on any one of those
Yeah.
things, man. I'm very versatile.
Yeah. You're a kayak angler. You're a kayak angler who just loves being on the water. And you
Um,
look at this. You have fun. Look at that.
that's what it's all about, man. If you can't enjoy this, you need
Yeah.
we can't be friends.
Oh, baby, I enjoy it. What about that dog? Tell us about that little paddle board thing you're
That's
doing.
my little Luna, man. She's right here on the floor by
Is
my
that
feet
right?
right now. Yeah. Luna, Luna is a blue heeler, and Luna is she's 12 years old now, and she has not left my side for 12 years. She hunts, she
Ooh,
fishes, she paddleboards. Um,
wow.
yeah, Luna has and we're growing old together, man. We get
Yeah.
up real slow now. We
Yeah.
stumble around. Um, but yeah, Luna is amazing, and that's what I even called her forever. She was adventure dog.
Adventure
Man,
dog.
if I was leaving, walking out that door, she was going with me, man. She refused to be left behind.
Wow. We
That's
could write a
cool.
book just on your stories. You know that?
It never ends, dude. I love it, man.
There you go. There's your shop.
That's the shop with the fleet right there on the trailer in front of it. And I mean, I had the fleet had, I mean, I had up to 40 kayaks at the
Gee.
maximum at one time, 2 trailers loaded up. We used to do stuff, big events with Texas Parks and Wildlife where we'd
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
eco tours
Yeah.
where we
Yeah.
would take, I would get, other people, my buddies, great kayak anglers that would come along kind of as chaperones,
Mhm.
we would spread them out in the group and we would lead, I mean, as many as 30 and 40 kayakers.
Jeez.
Uh, um, we got an area here called the Lighthouse Lakes Trails. There's a lighthouse
Mhm.
out there. The lighthouse is about 2.5 to a 3 hour trip,
Mhm.
depending on conditions and such to get there. And we used to do that trip to the lighthouse and back. It's one of the most beautiful, amazing places you've ever paddled in your life, man. It's just
Wow.
mangrove lined channels, all secluded, ultra
Wow.
shallow all the way, really naturally prohibitive to like motorboats can't get in there. It's like a little kayak paradise.
Wow. So let me ask you this: if Trey or I booked a trip with you, what kind of a fishing trip and what time of year would be the best?
We're blessed with a 12-month out of the year fishery here.
Jeez.
We fish 12 months. They are all equally as good as the next.
Gee whiz.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Let's
Um,
just say I was going to Texas. I was staying at a beach. The ocean was right there. I didn't really have the money to get a guide or anything, and I brought a fishing pole with me. It's kind of big enough to use out there. I could go to Walmart and grab something, or I could go down to the tackle shop and grab something. What would I go and grab, and where would I fish it?
you grab you a 7-foot medium action rod, spinning reel with 15-pound line, tie on a top water. And the beautiful thing about Texas compared to the rest of the country, we have wide open and free spaces that are available to the public. We
Wow.
have unlimited. And when I say unlimited, I'm talking 1,000 miles of shoreline from Sabine to the Mexican border where you can park, toss your kayak in the water, and just jump
Gee.
in. Park on the beach, park on the shoreline. Nobody's going to give a damn. Nobody's going to tow your vehicle. Nobody's going to have a problem. And it is endless opportunity to get into world class fishing within 15 to 20 minutes of paddling. I mean, if you I could start at the top. Sabine, it's beautiful, it's amazing. You get to, and my buddy Joe Winston that popped up there just a minute ago, that's
Yep.
his home turf. The From Galveston, it's crazy, man. The friends of mine up in Galveston, endless from state parks to get into to just free shorelines, banks to get in the bay. Matagorda, unlimited. You come on down the coast. There's my buddy Joe right there. He
Yeah.
popped in.
Yeah.
And Matagorda, the beach, the bays, unlimited. come down the coast, Goose Island State Park, Rockport, Aransas Pass, Corpus Christi, Port Isabel, Port Mansfield. Pick one. You could throw the dart at the map of the coast of Texas, and any one of them, you're going to find wide open and free to the public fishing.
And I can go out there and
You
catch one of them fish right there. What fish is that?
Speckled trout, redfish, flounder are the big three. You got sheephead, you got black drum. Summertime, you get Jack Crevalle. Oh man, I mean, it goes on. And see, here's another thing. So we used to travel. We would go to Florida and fish tournaments. You go down a street, almost any street in Florida, you can't see the water. There's a house. Every square inch of shoreline is private property. If you look like you're going to get out of your car, there's going to be a sheriff on your bumper.
Yeah.
And believe me, we got ran out of, I mean, even if it's a bar ditch, a bridge, if you see water and you try to park and get in, boom, somebody's calling the cops. You launched at marinas, you launched at boat ramps, you launched where there was public only access. The Carolinas, it was very similar. It was just so populated, it was very difficult to access the water. Texas, we actually have a law in Texas. It's called the Texas Open Beaches Act, and it has been contested. You try to tell somebody in Texas that we're going to limit your outdoor abilities, you're going to get a fight. I mean, you're going to get some pissed off people coming at you.
Wow.
So that is the reason we have so much free and wide open access to the water. There is a law that protects that right.
They say everything's bigger in Texas.
So do you have go ahead, Trey. Go ahead, Trey.
I was going to say, they say once you're out of Texas, you're halfway home.
That's a fact, man. And where I'm at in South Texas, it takes a long ass time to get out of Texas. Yes, man.
Have you ever been to Villa Acuna, Mexico, down by Del Rio?
No.
Okay.
I've been to Del Rio. I've been to Amistad Reservoir. I've actually paddled Amistad up in Devil's Canyon, and places like that, but never to the Mexican side.
What's your biggest Texas largemouth?
I've probably caught a grand total of 10 bass in Texas in my life.
Okay.
I don't bass fish. I've never got into it, never had the desire, and
just
you don't need to.
Never did it. Man,
well, you want to come here to Lake of the Ozarks, I'll put you on 12-inch largemouth all day long. 12 inches. And so I'm going to show up to Texas and we're going to catch one of them, whatever that is right there in that picture.
Where I have been, that's a redfish right there. And that's a little one, man. That's a schooly redfish. I mean, we get them. That's good fish. I don't want to disrespect that fish. It's a good one, but we get them way bigger than that. I mean, every day. So I've actually been up close to your neighborhood. I have a friend that lives in Cotter. And is it Cotter, Arkansas? On the White River.
Huh.
Yeah.
It is Cotter, right? Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Cotter. So yes, we would go up there and stay on the White River. He works at the Ozark Trading.
Ozark Mountain Trading Company, the kayak shop there. Yeah. What's his name?
Ted Geyer.
Okay.
I'm surprised Ted hadn't. Ted's, Wonder where old Ted is at this evening. But so yes, we used to come. But up there, it was on that river. It's trout fishing. Yeah.
So how deep is the water when you're fishing off the coast there in Texas? What's the water depth like where you're at?
So here in Redfish Bay, where I spend all of my days, the water is, if it's deep, it's 2 feet. If it's shallow, it's 10 inches to 1 foot. So it's crystal clear, seagrass, sight casting, tailing fish.
Yeah.
Ultra shallow. You normally see what you're throwing. So that's why I say you tie on a topwater, You're throwing it in shallow water. You're not pulling fish from the depths. It's in their face. And
Yeah.
you throw a top water across those grass beds and you get a redfish like that one there in the picture
Yeah.
that come up and blows up. It is a spectacle of nature. It
Oh,
is one of the most beautiful
yeah.
sights you have ever seen in your life. And that red drum is going to give you a run that you are never going to forget also.
Oh, it's cool. That's
Um,
wild.
yeah,
So, so that's why the kayak is perfect for this area.
exactly. Yes.
Now, what people don't know, Trey, you may not even know this, and Dean, man, you are a trooper because I can't imagine the pain you've been through. But Trey, wait till you hear the story about what he's just been through.
Oh, yeah. I'm sitting here in pain at the moment as we speak.
Yeah.
I'm recovering from spinal surgery. So I had two discs, the two bottom discs in my back, exactly 1 month ago and a couple of days, where they took two discs and removed them and put in artificial discs and put rods and screws in my spine. They disassembled my spine and put it back together.
Jeez.
Now, was that hereditary? Did something happen in the kayak? Was
Nope.
that from
That
before work?
is a lifetime of adventure and abuse
Okay.
and
Okay.
Yeah.
and having zero mercy on the spine that I was given.
Yeah.
Well, see, when we're young, we all think we're going to be bulletproof forever,
Right.
but it turns out I'm not. But see, the cool thing about this is I got a new spine now, so I can start all over again.
Yeah.
You'll be able to
You just swinging on him redfish. You just swung on him redfish too much, big dog.
I still got.
Trey,
Now that was all those years of hauling those kayaks.
oh yeah, I
boat,
totally agree.
loading that trailer, unloading the trailer, dragging them.
Yeah.
Man, walking in mud.
Yeah.
I mean, I have spent 90% of my life on unstable ground.
The sand and all that stuff, huh?
Oh yeah. I mean, just wholesale abuse.
Yeah. I totally get it.
Hey, like I said earlier, man, you get one chance.
Yeah, it's like when I go fishing now, I broke both my thumbs in the last 5 years.
Hey,
And of all things falling.
well,
And I'm in pain the entire time I fish, but you know what? It's worth it.
hey, man, it's not going to stop you.
No.
I almost died today, so I'm not even lying. Like,
I know, Trey, but you've already had 9 lives.
I seriously almost died. So I got these Crocs on that aren't even Crocs anymore. They're just pieces of rubber. And this ramp is a death ramp, right? It's like broken in half. I got to go down one side. So I get down and launch my boat fine. I get my kayak far enough in the water where I can do it. But coming back, I step just on the side. Dude, my Croc went out from underneath me. I slid all the way down in the water. I'm grabbing onto my boat as I'm rolling down the thing. I get back up and I try to do it again, and I slide all the way back down again. I go underneath my kayak trailer.
Oh, man.
And I'm sitting there holding up on my kayak trailer, and I pull myself up, and then I slide again. I cannot keep traction. But yeah.
Man, I can't tell you how many times I have come home from a day and somebody asked me, "How was your day?" And my exact words were, "Man, I almost died today."
Yeah. Wow.
Hey, it's a lifestyle, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, most exciting trip you ever took? Most exciting trip you ever took?
Damn, that's well, the ones that got my juices flowing the most, probably, as far as excitement, would be bad weather, like almost getting struck by lightning, seeing lightning hit the water, within 100 yards of where I'm at. And those are always pretty exciting. But we've done, man, it would be impossible to choose one. The paddling trips that we did in the Everglades in Florida, amazing, crazy. Paddling with alligators, right up underneath your boat, just get your heart pounding. Shark fishing in North Carolina, going off the beach in the Atlantic Ocean and catching sharks in kayaks.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty crazy. We did some long distance trips. So I'm familiar with the Texas coast. It is vast. But we used to do, and we would launch right here in Aransas Pass, and we would do a 3-day trip, which was 70 miles, anywhere from 60 to 70 miles. So we would paddle from here to Port Mansfield, and we would camp out along the way. And then we did from from Port Isabel, which is at the very bottom of Texas, right near Mexico. And then we paddled back to Port Mansfield there. We went to Port Mansfield, got in, paddled back to Corpus Christi. I mean, we used to do those.
Wow.
The long distance trips. Those were, man. But even then, when we started doing those, we had no cell phones then. When you shoved off that shoreline, you had everything to survive for 3 days in your kayak. And a GPS, a little handheld GPS, was the only thing that kept you knowing where even the hell you were or what direction you were going.
Wow.
So those were pretty exciting, man.
Man, that's pretty cool. So does the tide affect the depth of that water quite a bit or not?
So where we're at on the corner on the Gulf here, it's considered a micro tidal basin. We do not get the kind of tides that Florida and the Carolinas get. On a normal day, our tide will shift 1 foot.
Wow.
So on a normal low tide, a lot of those flats will be bone dry. They'll be too shallow, and they're going to stay shallow for a couple of days. So you're going to fish the edge of those flats or deeper flats. Then you get periods of higher tide where it might be up 2 or 3 feet higher, and it doesn't change. It changes over a week. It doesn't change over hours.
Okay.
So you're kind of chasing that depth that's going to be favorable for where you want to fish.
Sure. Now, how far out can you go before it really starts dropping?
It's not how far out you go. It's just different areas of the bay that are deeper than others.
Okay.
So it's not like where there's places where you can go off the shoreline and it's immediately deep, and then it's shallower out there on the horizon. Other places you may take off, it's shallower, and then you paddle out to deeper water. So it's not like an out relationship that gets you to deeper water. It's it's just a lot of variety. It's click on the map, later on when you get a chance, go to your little Google map and search Aransas Pass and scroll out into the water, and you'll see what we're looking at here.
Okay. And depending on the storms, is that always changing as far as like the ground structure?
It'll change some areas, but it stays pretty consistent, even with hurricanes and things that just get totally violent. Big cold fronts in the winter, we get 40, 50, 60 mile an hour winds at times that get total pure violence out there. But the majority of things stay the same. Certain aspects will get washed out or changed a little bit. Some sands will get shifted around. But generally speaking, the grand scheme of things always stays the same.
So once you have a flat you can't really fish because, as you said, sometimes they're so shallow, you're trying to find that deeper water on the edge. But once that water fills back in, let's say it's totally just dry, do you see that a lot more fish move up on that because of it and the water moves up, so it just provides them more food up there now? They're just up there just eating?
Oh, big fish chase little fish. I mean, it depends on where the bait is. And so when that tide drops out and that water gets pulled off of those flats, all of those little fish, all those little creatures have to go to deeper water. Or if it's enough water, they'll just get in that grass and just wait for the tide to change. But if it stays out, those fish are going to get pulled off of that flat. All those bait fish are going to go to the next level of water where they're safe. The big fish are going to be there with them. When the tide comes up, those little fish are going to go up on that shallow because it's safe up there. It's where they're going to go hide. The big fish are going to follow them back up on that flat. So we're always chasing the bait fish. We're always chasing those things that are going to lead us to the big fish.
Are you using any electronics?
No, No, the
Wow.
water is so clear and so shallow that it would be pointless to put electronics in them.
Okay,
And
there
there
you
we go. There's the map.
and the slow ride service is down here somewhere.
I'm right in the middle of that, man. So if you zoom in, you'll see a causeway right in the middle of that picture.
A
There's a
causeway.
road that goes right across. Yep, zoom in, zoom, and go a little bit. Like there it is. That's the
Yeah.
causeway.
Okay, that's where you fish that bridge and stuff there?
Well, we launch along that road.
Oh, okay.
And watch, go down, scroll to the bottom of that picture.
Okay.
All right. And look, so to the top, to the north of that, that is called the Lighthouse Lakes Trails. And so you see how it looks like land? What you can zoom in,
Yeah.
in. See how that looks like land?
That's
Those are
water?
lakes. That is
Oh,
water.
wow.
That is water. Super shallow
Yeah.
seagrass.
So, do you guys spend a lot of time in the bay? Do you spend a lot of time in the bay there?
Yes, all the time.
And then, but what about out here in the ocean?
And there's a lot of fish out there, but we're going to spend all the fish that I pursue are in the bay.
I see. Now, see out here, this reef way out here. How many miles out is
Well, that where you see that color change in that water, that
Yeah.
is like 150 miles offshore.
Jeez.
Yes, that is the continental shelf.
Okay. Do you guys go out there and fish?
Oh, hell yeah.
No,
mean,
the Nico.
the offshore fishery here is amazing, dude. In Port Aransas, there is a fleet of boats. Those dudes, they're out there after the big game every day. And again, it's the same. It's 12 months out of the year. I mean, those
Yeah.
we fish. There's not a closed season here.
Wow. I want to go there and visit.
Oh, you got to get here sometime, man. I'll show you what it's all about.
Oh my gosh. I may not come back.
Ah, you probably wouldn't. It's cold in Nebraska.
Yeah, out of the 5 guests, I think five. This is five, right? Out of the 5 guests we've had, each we've made a plan that we're gonna
Yeah, we
in the
I mean,
next
I'm
5
going on
years we
tour.
have a. It was in the contract you
Yeah.
signed before we did the podcast where
Yeah,
you're going to take me and Marty out on a.
I have a
exclusive day.
videographer. We've got
I
a
highly
videographer.
recommend it, man. Come on. We make it happen.
We just need a company to pay for our videographer and go out and do this stuff and have trips and then videotape it, man. That'd be awesome.
Have you ever had it? You ever got in with a great white shark?
Not a great white, but over in the Carolinas, that place is polluted with sharks, man.
Jeez.
I think what we were catching was called a smooth skin dog something. But here we got black tips and makos and sand sharks and lemon sharks, and I mean along the beachfront, man, there's guys there. I mean, we even have one big tournament. It's called Sharkathon.
Huh.
It attracts shark fishermen from all over the country. The largest hammerhead shark, greater hammerhead, the largest hammerhead that was ever caught from a land-based operation was caught right here on Padre Island, like 30 minutes from my house.
But that's out there in the blue, though, right?
19 feet long.
19 feet?
19 feet, greater hammerhead. So these dudes are rigged up with giant pin reels. I mean, full blown gear with it's like a backpack, like a strap. So they tie this rod to their body and they stand on the beach. And so these dudes are strapped into the pole. There'll be two dudes holding the dude that's fighting the fish.
Oh my gosh.
And so these guys are catching, I mean, they catch big shark. Yeah, I mean, that's another one you can entertain yourself with later, man. Search up Sharkathon and just Padre Island shark fishing. I mean, you'll see.
Where's Padre Island on here?
Just go south of zoom in again to where we were.
Oh, I see it. South Padre Island.
And that's way far south. Go way up. Padre Island is like
here it is.
Miles. Way north.
Oh, really? Further?
Way north. Keep going.
Padre Island's a big island.
Keep going. It's hundreds of miles.
Jeez.
And see, that turns it. So up ahead. So below Corpus Christi is Padre Island. North of Corpus Christi is St. Joe Island. North of St. Joe Island is Matagorda Island.
Okay.
And so I
Oh,
take that back. Below Corpus is Mustang Island, then it turns into Padre Island. But
mhm,
if you scroll in on the coast a
uh-huh,
little bit closer, and you just go down that coast, you will see which there's the beach, but
uh-huh.
behind that beach, for the entire length of Texas, are bays.
I see. Okay.
Do the sharks get back there?
Oh yeah, yeah, a lot of sharks in the bays.
Jeez. That's
Have you ever been stung by
incredible.
a jellyfish?
Oh my god, dude, this jellyfish. How many times have I been stung by a
Did you
jelly?
have to pee on it?
No, I don't think that's old wives' tale.
Is
That
that
don't
not
work.
a real thing?
I don't think so. That's just for people that like to pee on other people.
What's the weirdest thing you've got bit or stung by?
Um, Man, jellyfish are the worst. I mean, that's about the only thing that's out there that's going to get you. We have stingrays also. I mean, if you're familiar with stingrays, the stingray that lays on the bottom and they got that harpoon on their tail that will
Yeah. Yeah.
jam you to the bone. Um, those are pretty savage. I've never been hit, but I know many people who have. And that's an automatic trip to the emergency room, man. You're going to be going to see a doctor with that one.
Isn't that how Steve Irwin died?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that was a different kind of a ray. He was in the ocean,
Yeah.
a different ray.
Well, you're only about 17 hours away from here.
Yeah, and it's even less in an airplane.
True. But I like to drive, man, and get
Book
my
our no, Marty. Book our flight, bro. We're flying, and you're not
jeez.
bringing any Nico stuff. We're catching. We're going out there. We're
If you guys, I mean, if y'all think about it someday and y'all wanted to put it together, we can easily make that happen. Tons
Marty
of
actually went to Florida and was out there in the flats fishing with the Nico, and he was actually
Yeah.
catching some fish.
Yeah, I did. I rented a kayak and used a Nico and caught fish.
hey, you could float out there in an inner tube and make
Yeah.
it happen.
So what were you saying about trip there?
Oh, there's lodging. It's too easy, man.
Really?
Too easy.
Wow.
So if somebody out there that's listening right now and they wanted to put together a savings fund, let's say they wanted to save up for a year. Let's just, they got the envelope saved up. Just say, I want to save up. I want to go to Texas and do some fishing next year. How much money would somebody realistically have to save, and what would they need to bring with them?
Man, I mean, and if you wanted to do it, the sky's the limit. I mean, you can spend as much money as you want, or you could do as little as you want. If you wanted to go on a reasonable budget, you can get you a hotel, you can get you lodging, you can get a VRBO. You're looking at, man, $100 a night, 150 a night.
Mhm.
And if you get a couple of guys to chip in, you rent you a house,
Mhm.
and they're everywhere. There are hundreds of VRBO rentals around here. They're just, I mean, it's a vacation destination. They're
Yeah.
everywhere. You spend 250 if you're splurging, 250 a night. I mean, you can rent kayaks. There's plenty of rental businesses. I mean, it's not that hard if you wanted to rent a kayak or if you wanted to bring your own. So for, man, $2,000, 2,500, you could go crazy.
We spend that. I spent 1,000 on a bass fishing
Yeah,
tournament.
Yeah.
right. A
Yeah.
month.
Right.
I
Yeah.
I do $2,000 a month on bass tournaments.
So
Yeah.
how much would it cost to fish though? Like what's my fishing license going to cost? And is there one
Um,
that I can buy for like a week or
yeah,
how
yeah. Out of state licenses for Texas are, I mean,
$54. It's $54.
yeah,
Is
if
what I
they're not
paid.
bad.
No. But is that fresh and saltwater license?
Well, so there is, if you get the combo,
Yeah.
you get a saltwater stamp. I mean, you may end up spending $100 for
Yeah.
a week license, 100, 120, something like that for an out of state license.
It's 54 for a freshwater is what I paid last time.
Well, then you got to get a saltwater stamp if you're going to fish on the coast.
Mhm.
And then I think that's all you need is the license and the saltwater endorsement.
It's saltwater endorsement is only $10. That's non-resident is 16. So you're gonna spend $70.
Ain't too bad.
No, no. Oh,
So if you could, what's your
that's a one
favorite
day.
fish to eat?
To eat?
You could only pick one fish, the one seafood, the one seafood, bro. Like one fish. You know, not a. We're not going to do shellfish right now, so not shrimp or anything like that.
I mean,
One.
the red fish is absolutely delicious. The red drum. I cook them and I eat them all the time, man. Red drum it's a really firm flesh. It's speckled trout are really light and flaky. They crumble. It's really light and flaky. Black drum are also amazing to eat. Really clean white. It's kind of in between the trout and the reds. Um, but they're all very edible. And you can ask 10 people, you'll get 10 different answers on that question.
Right.
I mean, everybody has their personal preference, but they're all delicious, man. They absolutely are. All of those things we catch are, they're all great to cook up.
Do you have a captain's license? Is that what you have to have there?
Absolutely. Yes. A Coast Guard captain's license.
And does that have to renew it every 2 years or 3 years?
You renew it every 5 years.
Okay. And is it a test?
Yes.
I see. And is it
And,
easy?
and a Coast Guard captain's license, you have to buy it new every year, and it is expensive. I mean, to renew my license is a little over $300, and I have charter boat license, insurance. I carry charter boat insurance,
Yeah.
licensing to be
Yeah.
a legit captain for saltwater. It's a pretty big investment.
Yeah. I'll bet. Yeah. What about a deckhand?
For my boat, not necessary. I do it all myself.
Yeah, I mean, but if you had a deckhand, do they have to have a license?
No, they fall under the guidance of the captain on the boat.
Okay. Nice.
So yeah, you can come down and you could be deckhand.
Yeah, just be a deckhand.
Just jump on, man.
That'd be awesome.
Honorary deckhand for the day.
Yeah, there you go. And go kayak fishing after that. That'd be awesome, man. Good stuff, man. We're gonna bring you back with Chad, and we're gonna tell some more stories.
Oh man, dude, any of those dudes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And okay, so did you know anything was going on up here in the Midwest for kayak? Or did you even know any kayak fishing going on in other parts besides those guys? Or
I kept up with the California scene a little bit because I knew Jim Salmons with what
yeah,
he had going on.
yeah.
But I stuck to my part of the world pretty much, Texas, Louisiana, Florida,
Mhm.
and then North Carolina.
I see. You know, I did do a guided trip with Jim Salmons.
That's another adventurous dude, man.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
That's big ocean fishing, man.
We paddled out. It had to have been 3 miles going for thresher shark in a paddle 12-foot kayak in like 6 to 8 foot rollers. And I didn't have any fear though of it, but you just go do it.
I
But
never had any desire to do that even in my younger years, man.
yeah, it was. I do have a picture on my wall holding a big barracuda that I caught with him. But
I never had a problem with distance, but man, I didn't like all that deep water underneath me, man.
140 foot deep, and
Nah.
the big whites were in 15. There was canyons, 1,500-foot canyons nearby.
Yeah.
And Jim did that every day.
And the reason those dudes did that, they don't have bays. That was that was
Right.
what they had.
Yeah.
So they took what they had and made it work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I lived there. I lived there, and I surf fished off the beach, and I fished Shelter Island there in San Diego Bay, all the jetties, all that stuff. But you're right. We didn't have any. We had little harbors there, but there was not much of it. You had to go surf fish and wade out and get your line out there, and we'd fish for Corbina.
Yep.
That was the fish that
I've seen the pictures.
Yeah. But anyway, so any more questions, Trey, you got?
I'm good, man. I think this was a great show.
Incredible.
Man, I
Dean?
appreciate y'all having me on, man. I always enjoy reminiscing about the old days and
Yeah,
just fishing talk in general. And if we get a chance to come back with Chad, that'd
yeah,
be crazy.
yeah,
Any of those dudes, man, just give me a holler anytime, and
yeah.
I'd
Well,
be happy to jump on with you guys.
you bet. That the goal is that either myself or somebody else, I got a guy in mind that this gets written. This all these interviews get written, and then we take the videos and do those little scan things where you can scan it in the book and bring up these videos.
Oh yeah, yeah, right,
You know
cool.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's what I'm trying to do is put this history together of because there is a history and there's some icons of this sport of why we're where we're at today, and you're one of them. You
Oh
know,
yeah, it's we're becoming historical.
yeah. And so it was been on my heart. And then you know what? As a high school principal, it was awfully difficult to do something like this, a project. But now that I'm retired and more busy, it's happening. You know. But man, you for you to have this back surgery and come back and we were scheduled to maybe go a little sooner, but I wanted to respect your time of healing up with your back and all that. But
Yeah, man, even just sitting in this chair, man,
yeah, yeah,
I'm ready to go back to my couch.
I'll
So
bet.
that's what I kind of wanted to add to. That's the last thing I have is the people that are still on here and people that watch this coming up. Let's lift Dean up in prayer, guys, and just pray for some recovery and pray for some just some healing and that he's able to get back out there at just full force, man. So if you guys are on here, let's just pray it up for Dean and just for some healing, and let's continue just to keep him on that prayer list. So,
It means a lot, man. The prayers go a long way. Uh,
Absolutely.
it really does. It means a
And
lot. Thank you.
we'll be putting clips out of this as well, and this will be on podcasts, all kinds of podcasts that I have. I have another. It's called Kayak Jack's Fishing Intel. It'll be on there, and we'll have a lot of people see this, and by the time it's run, because a lot of guys like to listen when they drive and stuff.
Oh yeah,
They may
absolutely.
not be in here tonight, but just tonight though, I'll tell you how many we've had, and it's not so much about how many people, because if you have 30 people, that's a classroom. If you have 300, that's a gymnasium. So
Right.
that's the way I look at it. And we've had a couple hundred people on here tonight, off and on.
Damn, pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. But we don't have any prizes tonight, do we, Trey? I don't
we
have one.
don't. We
Uh,
don't.
for listening,
We
but
don't. But tell us, we will have one for the people that are now listening, and I will write this down.
uh,
Tell us what the biggest fish you've caught. So that you guys are getting a push here. Well, Dean, what's the biggest fish you've caught out of the ocean?
Oh man, that would be a sailfish.
Can you give
really,
us okay, that's all we needed. Sailfish, that works.
Yep.
wow.
Pacific sailfish down in Costa Rica. And those sailfish ain't no joke. I actually caught one in Nicaragua about a year and a half ago that was pushing like 6 feet long. Those Pacific sails are the most, so first of all, it's the fastest fish in the ocean,
Yeah.
swim up to 60 miles an hour. So when you hook onto one, you got something, and they
Jeez.
go airborne, and it's just another spectacle of nature, man.
Wow.
It is a rush that you never ever forget.
No kidding. That was in a boat though, right?
Yes, the one in Nicaragua was in a little boat, man, in a little panga skiff, though.
Oh,
It was all natural fishing. It was not a
so
big sport fisher with a big spread set out. We were in a little boat straight off the beach in the Pacific Ocean, whales swimming around us,
oh man, what a
holding the
trip.
rod, dragging poppers, and holding the rod and felt those fish. We caught mahi, tuna, sailfish all in the same day.
Wow.
Epic, epic
Was that a
event.
guided trip?
Oh man, it was just we found this native dude, man, that was right there on the beach. His
Jeez.
job was not guided fishing. He fished for a living. It was so
That's the way to do
my
it.
oldest son lives in Nicaragua.
Okay.
And that's another story on its own.
Yeah.
He takes adventure to a whole nother level. So we went down there. Me and my younger son traveled there, visited him, and
Yeah.
while we were there, we found Rafa, this dude, and he fishes to live. I mean, it was in this little village. You go to the village, man. I mean, it was like a movie. There's
Wow.
pigs running through the house.
Wow.
You go to the beach, you help them. You're part of the crew, man. You push the boat to the water, you jump in. Rafa hands you a fishing pole. Boom, you're fishing, man.
Jeez.
It was
Incredible.
crazy. It was badass. One of the most epic things I've ever done in my life.
Oh my gosh. Man, that's cool. That's cool.
You
Okay.
got to get out there and live it, man. You
Oh
get
yeah. Same here. I'm like tomorrow, I'm taking off at
yeah,
4
man. Hey,
a.m.
man, and be safe on your trip too, man. You got a long road ahead of you, but
Yeah.
good luck on Lake Fork, man.
Yeah, thanks. That'll be fun. And then, but I look forward to talking to you again. And then I think I see a trip down that way. My wife's already booked our December trip for next year. We're going to do 10 days in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And
Man, come to Aransas Pass in December. It's amazing. It's still
yeah,
70 and 80 degrees.
yeah.
Today, tomorrow, we're looking at 94 degrees here.
Jeez.
Damn.
Wow.
So, I mean, and that's
Yeah. Well, next December, I'm in the Caribbean next December.
yeah. We
But
had a freeze about a month ago. It was horrible, man. One day,
one day.
it got to about 29
Yeah.
degrees. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
shut this place down.
Can you believe though, last weekend we had sideways snow blowing 60, 70 miles an hour. No
I
kidding, a blizzard. And then
don't
3
know.
days later, it's 84 degrees.
I don't know how you people live like that up there, man. It's crazy. But you come down July and August here is death heat,
Yeah,
you
right,
know, so
right.
it's a trade-off.
Yeah, yeah. Do you fish a lot in that heat?
Oh yeah, yeah, we still go, man. We go. And July and August, you know, everybody's out of school. It's summertime, it's vacation time. We go 7 days a week in August, July and August.
Jeez. What do you charge for a day, whole day? Because I couldn't find your website.
Well, and I don't even have a website anymore.
Oh, that's
I
why.
do everything via social media, and I
Okay,
do what I do is a 6-hour trip. I
okay.
used to do a half day, it was too short, a full day was too long, so I do a 6-hour trip for 2 people is $700, and then 3 people is 800.
Nice. Okay. And all equipment provided.
Everything, full
They
service.
can,
You
and they,
just show up,
yeah,
drinks, snacks, everything
yeah.
is provided.
Nice. And they can find you on Facebook because I found that. So
Facebook, Instagram,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool. So 700 for what do you say? 700 for 2 people?
2 people for 6-hour trip.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And you
And
just show up with a winning attitude.
yeah. Now, if I went down and did a guided trip, then I could take my kayak out and kind of replicate it a little bit or not?
Absolutely. Same
Okay.
areas, the same
Yeah,
place.
yeah,
I have a lot of people that do that, man.
yeah.
People hire me to jump on their boat and show them how
Yeah,
to get
I have
around.
that too. Yeah, I have
We
that
do
same thing.
those.
Yeah, yeah,
And then, yeah, they come down and they fish one day with me, and then they spend the rest of the week fishing on their own.
yeah, yeah. I get it. Would a Hobie Outback work down there?
Man, the Hobies are tough in the shallow water because the
Uh,
flippers have to, they have to have
um,
water underneath them. So
Only if you strip down to your skivvies and tie your shirt up in a knot.
yeah. I have a Crescent Shoalie too.
Well, and so if you're on a high tide, the Hobies absolutely will work. And
Uh-huh.
then there's certain areas that they will.
Yeah,
So you just have to choose where you're going. How
yeah,
there's it can make or break you though. It
yeah.
can be
You gotta be a paddler there. Yeah,
I
And then you've got to find that picture, man.
yeah.
oh if it exists, I will find it.
All right. Okay. Hey, thanks a lot, and we'll be talking to you again. And appreciate you coming on, Dean. All these years I've known who you were, but never got a chance to talk to you till now.
Hey, sometimes it takes a while, but we finally made it happen.
Yeah. Well, and then thank your wife for being a teacher, man. That's it's an incredible profession.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know. So
She did it for many, many years.
yeah. All right. We're signing out, Trey. Good luck in your tournament.
I
And
am, yes.
just have fun, man. I'm going to end this broadcast here.
All right.